Hey scholars, hope everybody's doing well. Miss seeing you all, but I know I'll see you again soon. So, we're going to talk today. We've been talking about habitats, and we're going to kind of take a different look at physical habitats. Let's take a minute first to remember exactly what habitats are. So, we know habitat is where animals and plants live, right? What is the main thing that makes different habitats different from one another? What do they have that's different about each habitat? I know I think someone said the right answer. The climate of each habitat in the world is unique and different from other habitats, right? So climate is really what makes different habitats different from one another. We know that climate includes the temperature, how hot and cold it is. What's another part of climate that makes one habitat different from another? You have the temperature, how hot and cold, and then how wet or dry, right? The moisture. So when we look at different habitats of the world where different animals and plants live, we think of how hot or cold it is and how wet or dry it is. The climate of each habitat is mostly what decides which animals and plants can live there. Well, I want you to imagine right now, instead of all the plants and other living things in a habitat, if you could kind of erase all that and get down to the actual land underneath a habitat. What do you think makes different land shapes the way they are? So I'm going to ask a similar question that's on the slide here. Now, up here we don't really have big yards. Where I'm from in North Carolina, it's a little more common to have a big pile of dirt in your yard. But if you haven't had a big pile of dirt in your yard, at least you might have seen one outside, even if they were building something like construction. So have you ever seen a giant mound of dirt outside? I want you to think now. And when I ask the question, you can pause and come up with a good answer. What happens to that big mound of dirt over time? So does that big mound of dirt get bigger over time? No, right? It wouldn't grow on its own. Really, with rain and wind, it would tend to get smaller over time and maybe get lower. The height would probably go down and it would probably flatten out, especially if it rained a lot on top of it. That big mound of dirt would probably end up getting shrunken down by that rain and wind. So that's what we're going to focus on today, a word that describes that washing away and shrinking of the earth with rain and wind is called erosion. So erosion is the washing away. See if I can, there we go. Erosion is the washing away of dirt and rocks by wind or water. So if you look at this side of this grassy hill here, you can imagine that at one point this whole hill was covered in grass. What happened right here in the middle part? What do you think caused this dirt to slide down like it has? So probably over time, rain caused that dirt to loosen up and ultimately wash that dirt away the side of the hill. So that's a good example of erosion. We can see even little rocks and things, that water falling from the sky as rain over time has caused the soil and the little rocks to wash away. So one of the major reasons why different landforms or shapes of the land have changed over time is because of this process we call erosion. So I'm going to show you an awesome picture. How do you think this canyon, this is the Grand Canyon in Arizona, how do you think this canyon got looking this way? So pause the video. I want you to think of a good answer. What made this canyon look this way? So I hope some of you came up with a good answer that included this river you see at the bottom of the canyon. That rushing water, what do you think that did to the little rocks and dirt at the bottom of the river, at the bottom of the canyon over time? It washed it away, right? So that erosion caused by the river has carved this steep canyon over time. Also, water falling from the sky as rain and wind further caused the steep canyon to have these steep canyon walls. So erosion is really the reason why different landforms get shaped the way they look over time. Let's look at another picture together. So take a look at this beach here. Why does this beach look the way it does? Can you see where the force of the water might have changed the land over time? One thing I notice is that these trees and grasses, they don't grow beyond a certain level here, probably because that constant washing of the water wouldn't let the roots stay in one place. So you don't see any plants growing past a certain level, and then you even see these big slabs of rock look like they've been starting to break up with that constant movement of the water. And the sand looks like it was kind of pulled or moved by the water back this way, and even small pieces of rock. So we know erosion, or movement of sand, dirt, and other little particles of rock, has shaped the way this beach looks. I'm going to teach you two other words. We're not going to focus on the other two. We're going to focus on erosion today. But so you get used to hearing this saying that we're going to be referring to in the next couple of assignments, I want you to at least start to be thinking about two other words too. One of them is weathering, and weathering is how rocks get broken apart by weather, like rain, or even freezing of ice can help break rocks apart. Erosion, as we know, is water and wind washing and moving those little broken pieces away. Now, this other word, deposition, is where those little particles end up and move to. So let's take a look at this picture one more time. If we look at this rock up here that has started breaking apart, that would be an example of weathering, how the rocks are breaking up because of the water. That's weathering. And then the water moving those little pieces away would be erosion. And then dropping them off somewhere else, that's called deposition. So we're going to do a little saying together. I want everyone to go like this. Let me see that you're doing this. We're going to have some dance moves along with our saying. So let's see. Are you doing this with me? Okay, so do this. Weathering breaks it. Oh, that was good. Let's start over. I saw everyone did it correctly. Let's try again. Weathering breaks it. Erosion takes it. Deposition drops it. That was pretty good. Let's do it all together. Weathering breaks it. Erosion takes it. Deposition drops it. Weathering breaks it. Erosion takes it. Deposition drops it. Awesome. Altogether, these processes are what shapes land into landforms that we recognize and see in habitats all over the world. So now you have learned three important things. We're focusing today on erosion, that takes it part, where water and wind washes away dirt and small rocks to shape the land. All right, last picture we're going to look at together. Here are some mountain goats living in their habitat. How would erosion affect this animal's habitat? Think about that question, and your answer is going to be one of the last answer on this week's assignment. So I can't wait to see some of your awesome ideas. If you have any questions, of course, you can email or write your questions on the comments section of the assignment. Talk to you soon.